Have you ever had a season at work where you were still showing up, still doing what needed to get done, but deep down, the motivation just was not there anymore? You were not completely falling apart. You were not necessarily ready to quit. You were still functioning, but something had changed. The energy was lower. The excitement was gone. Tasks felt heavier than they used to. Things that once felt manageable now took more effort. Even simple work started to feel like something you had to drag yourself through. And maybe the hardest part is that from the outside, it does not always look dramatic. You still go to work, you still answer the emails, you still attend the meetings, you still get things done. But inside, it feels different. And when that happens, a lot of people start quietly panicking. They think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get myself going like I used to? Have I become lazy? Am I in the wrong job? Am I losing my ambition? That is what we are talking about today. Today's episode is about how to keep going at work when you're no longer feeling motivated. Because the truth is, not every season of work is going to feel exciting. Not every phase of your career is going to feel energizing. And not every day is going to come with momentum, inspiration, or that feeling of being fully switched on. Sometimes work is just heavy. Sometimes life is heavy. Sometimes you are carrying stress that has nothing to do with your job, but your job still feels harder because of it. And sometimes the most important thing is not figuring out how to feel intensely motivated again overnight. It is learning how to keep moving without needing to feel inspired all the time. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Work Chat, where we help you navigate the modern workplace with more clarity, confidence, and influence. And if you've been feeling off at work lately, this episode is for you. Because one of the biggest lies people absorb about work is that the only good kind of effort is motivated effort. That if you are not feeling driven, excited, and energized, something must be wrong. But real working life does not look like that. Real working life has seasons. There are seasons where momentum comes easily, and there are seasons where what carries you is not motivation at all. It is discipline, it is structure, it is perspective, it is emotional maturity, and sometimes it is simply deciding that your feelings do not get to narrate your entire future. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is this: low motivation does not automatically mean something is wrong. This is where a lot of people spiral. The moment they stop feeling motivated, they assume it means they are in the wrong career, the wrong company, or the wrong life. And yes, sometimes low motivation is information, but it is not always a crisis. Sometimes it is just a season. Sometimes you are tired. Sometimes you are emotionally depleted. Sometimes you have been under pressure for too long. Sometimes you are bored. Sometimes you are doing important work, but it is not especially exciting right now. And sometimes you are simply human. That matters because if you treat every drop in motivation like an emergency, you make normal work seasons feel like personal failure. And then you create a second problem on top of the first one. Now you are not just tired. You are ashamed that you are tired. Now you are not just unmotivated. You are scared that being unmotivated means you are becoming someone you do not want to be. That kind of emotional pressure makes everything heavier. So the first mindset shift is this: stop treating motivation like the only fuel source that counts. Because if motivation is the only thing that can get you moving, then every low-energy day will feel like a dead end. The second thing that helps is this: stop making your low motivation mean too much. This is subtle, but important. A lot of people do not just feel unmotivated. They start interpreting it. They turn it into a story. I used to care more. I'm not as driven as I used to be. Other people seem to be doing better. Maybe I've lost my edge. But not every feeling deserves a dramatic conclusion. Sometimes low motivation is not a sign that your future is broken. It is just a sign that your energy is low. And when you stop attaching so much meaning to it, you free up energy to actually deal with it. Instead of asking, why am I not the most motivated version of myself right now? Try asking, what is the next important thing I need to do well today? That question is much more useful. It brings you back to reality. It takes you out of the emotional swirl and puts you back into movement. Because when motivation is low, the goal is not always to feel amazing. Sometimes the goal is simply to keep moving with some steadiness. The third thing is one of the most practical. Build systems that carry you when feelings do not. Motivation is inconsistent. Structure is what keeps life functioning when motivation disappears. That is why systems matter so much in low motivation seasons. Not because you need to become a robot, but because you need something more reliable than your mood. That could look like choosing your top 3 priorities before the day starts so you are not wasting energy figuring out where to begin. It could mean creating a start-of-day routine that helps you ease into work instead of waiting to magically feel ready. It could mean blocking focus time before your attention gets pulled in 10 directions. It could mean using shorter work sprints so the day feels less overwhelming. It could mean making the tasks smaller than your resistance. Instead of saying, I need to finish this whole thing, maybe the goal is just, I'm going to work on this for 10 minutes. That matters because when motivation is low, friction feels bigger. Simple tasks start feeling heavier than they should. That is why systems help. They reduce the amount of emotional energy required to begin, and often, beginning is the hardest part. The fourth thing is this. Choose consistency over intensity. A lot of people think they need a big comeback. They think they need to wake up one morning and suddenly feel focused, driven, clear, and ambitious again. But most of the time, that is not how recovery works. It is not intensity that gets you through hard work seasons. It is consistency. You do not need to have a brilliant, hyper-productive day every day. You need to keep your standards alive in a sustainable way. That might mean doing solid work even when it does not feel exciting, finishing the important task even if the day feels slower than usual, or choosing steadiness over emotional drama. Because when people lose motivation, they often swing between extremes. Either they do very little because they are waiting to feel inspired again, or they try to force a huge burst of effort that they cannot maintain. Neither one works very well. A better approach is quieter. Show up. Do the next right thing. Keep your commitments alive. Let consistency carry more weight than intensity. That is not glamorous, but it is incredibly powerful. The fifth thing that helps is this. Reconnect with meaning in a smaller, more honest way. When people feel unmotivated, they often start asking giant questions. What is my purpose? Is this what I'm meant to do? Do I need to change everything? Sometimes those questions matter, but sometimes they are too big for the moment you are in. Sometimes what you actually need is not a dramatic reinvention. You need a smaller reason to keep going. Maybe the meaning right now is not that you love the work. Maybe it's that this job is helping you support your family. Maybe it's giving you experience you're going to use later. Maybe it's helping you stay steady while you quietly get ready for your next chapter. Or maybe this season is teaching you how to keep showing up for yourself, even when the work doesn't feel especially rewarding. Meaning does not always have to feel profound. Sometimes it just has to be real enough to keep you oriented. And that is enough. The sixth thing is this. Protect your energy outside of work. Sometimes the issue is not your motivation. Sometimes the issue is depletion. And those are not the same thing. If you are emotionally tired, mentally overloaded, under-rested, overstimulated, or carrying stress from multiple directions, work will feel harder. That does not mean you are weak. It means your system is full. This is why protecting your energy matters so much. Not just at work, but outside of it too. That might look like going to bed a little earlier, saying no to a few things you do not really need on your plate, giving yourself a little more quiet at night, spending less time on screens, or just being more honest about what is draining you and what is actually helping you recharge. Because sometimes the most helpful thing you can do for your work life is not another productivity hack. It is taking better care of the person who has to do the work. And finally, if you remember nothing else from this episode, remember this. You do not need to feel highly motivated to keep moving forward. That is such an important truth. There are seasons where motivation carries you, and there are seasons where maturity carries you. Maturity says, I may not feel inspired right now, but I can still show up. I may not love this season, but I can still move with intention. I may not have the energy I used to have, but I am not going to let one hard season define my future. That is a different kind of strength. It is quieter. It is less exciting, but it is more durable. So if you are in a season where work feels heavier, your motivation feels lower, and you are wondering how to keep going, here is the real takeaway. Do not panic. Do not shame yourself. Do not assume every low-energy season means your career is falling apart. Instead, stop relying on motivation as your only fuel source. Stop turning every hard day into a bigger story about who you are. Use structure to reduce friction. Choose consistency over intensity. Reconnect with meaning in a smaller, more honest way. Protect your energy outside of work, and remember that perseverance does not always look passionate. Sometimes it looks quiet, sometimes it looks ordinary, sometimes it looks like doing what matters even when the feeling is not there. And honestly, that kind of perseverance builds a stronger kind of professional character than motivation ever could. Because anyone can move when they feel inspired, but learning how to keep going when you do not, that is a different kind of strength. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the Work Chat for more practical conversations on workplace communication, leadership, confidence, and navigating the modern world of work. I've also included a link below to free resources designed to help you communicate more clearly, lead with confidence, and grow in your career. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What helps you keep going at work when motivation is low? I'll see you in the next episode.